I'm a big advocate for contracting and very tight contractual agreements as well when you're going into a partnership with anyone. And that's because I have been burned. So I've gone into a business relationship with a family member, and it was, Isioma, come, let's do this thing now, you know, and, oh, okay, let's do it. And we start to do it, and, you know, things were not really defined properly. And it was, you know, an absolute big mess. And thankfully, you know, it didn't become a village meeting. At the end of the day, we didn't take it home to Delta states, but you know what I mean. And I think it kind of redefined our personal relationship, and of course that business relationship didn't work. So if you look at, you know, contracting, and you know, people might shy away from it, but I think everyone also just needs to understand that in contracting is just a definition of the goal, the roles, the responsibilities, and you know, the measurements, or you know, the objectives that we're going to meet, you know, basically at the end of the day, so everyone is crystal clear what the expectations are. Because where the risks and the challenges that come in any partnership is when the expectations are not met. If you guys don't even understand the expectations in the first place, that's the biggest, you know, misalignments from the beginning. Now, apart from the contractual aspect of things, I think the second biggest item or whatever that is fundamental to any partnerships is communication. So in any way you want to look at it, if it is, you know, adopting a collaborative platform or software for constant check-ins, reviews, and, you know, just, you know, communicating on what, you know, what is happening within, while you're in a partnership, communication is really important. Communication is even more important when expectations are not being met and things are going all right. But if you know, for example, that things like a deadline is not going to be met next week, communicating that to your partner or partners for them to understand the reason why, for example, the deadline is not going to be met. Two heads are better than one. If you're putting heads together and they're just trying to see what everyone can do together to meet the deadline, you would get help. If you wait till next week, the day of the deadline, and raise your hand and say, oh, I can't meet the deadline today, that's a problem. You know, so communication, for me, I think the lines of communication, you need absolutely to, you know, you need to open, keep that really open and be honest, so that, you know, there's 100% trust in the partnership. And then, you know, again, I think what's also important is linking to the expectations and roles and responsibilities, whatever the measurements that has been identified or written out needs to be periodically checked and reviewed, so that, you know, you also know that, you know, you're on track, you're monitoring, and, you know, that's what you call monitoring, and maybe post, you know, maybe some evaluation, so that maybe you can quickly course correct if you're not meeting the metrics that have been set, you know, basically, and all of that. I'm trying to think of an example without, you know, saying too much. But, you know, I think one of the ones that has really worked for me is, you know, speaking up early enough when there's a challenge, to let the partner know that, you know, there's a challenge. That really builds trust. If they're thinking about a partner to work with again on another project, you're most likely, because they know that they can depend on you, and, you know, you understand, you know, what it means to be in a partnership, and you guys can work together to execute, you know, properly. You have a united front. So for me, those are the ways, you know, you can mitigate risk. It will still not be 100% foolproof, because we're human beings, but I think these are the fundamentals.